And in the boardroom, people are starting to realize that no matter what, technology is the underlying force that is powering all the processes within any organization.
Welcome to the Process Masters podcast. I'm your fellow process, automation, workflows enthusiast, Amelia, and I have a great show for you today. Today, our guest is here with us, Daniele Catteddu. He's Chief Technology Officer at Cloud Security Alliance, the global organization defining how we secure the cloud and build digital trust. Well, Daniele leads CSA's Compliance Automation Revolution initiative. It's called CAR. And this initiative is transforming compliance from paperwork to continuous assurance. With 15 and more years in cybersecurity, policy standards, he's advised governments and Fortune 500 companies on how to secure the systems that run our world. Well, in this episode with us, you'll learn what compliance automation really means and beyond audits, how continuous assurance is changing security and business trust, and what AI-driven governance will look like in the years ahead of us. So, thank you so much for joining us today, Daniele.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah,
it'll be a pleasure.
Yeah, same here. So, for our listeners here who may not know the Cloud Security Alliance, can you describe for us what it is and why it matters so much right now?
Absolutely, and with pleasure. Cloud Security Alliance is a global not-for-profit organization. We were created back in 2009 by our founder, Jim Reeves, and the goal back in 2000, early 2000 was to secure the cloud, to make sure we were building the best practices, the standards, and the foundational research that it would help organizations of any size to have a safe journey into the cloud. I would like to remember that back in the days when CSA was created, cloud, it was a sort of Wild West. It was an amazing new business model that it was coming up, a promising technology, but a lot of confusion there, a lot of lack of transparency. So we thought that our role was to create that amount of information that people could use in order to have a proper risk management of whatever they were going to face. Now, since then, we have been growing quite a bit.
Yeah.
And in fact, also the scope of what we do has been extended. As the name of the organization says, cloud is our focus. But I guess starting from 2015, I would say, we started to extend the scope of our activity. IoT security, blockchain, and then lately, in the last 3 years, we have been repivoting some of our effort towards Gen AI security. We are going to we're going to discuss that at length today. But in general, as for CSA, there is one important matter I would like to highlight. Whatever we do, being a not-for-profit, is free of charge. So everyone, members and non-members, are free to go on our website, download our best practices, our papers, our standards, and use it. Try to break it, and if they do, we are happy to get feedback, because that's the only way we believe we can improve standards and best practices. We want to remain open, and we want to be able to educate and guide as many people as possible in our constituency.
That's a great purpose for your organization.
It is indeed.
Yeah. And can you unpack a little bit more for us on the CSA and the Compliance Automation Revolution? How does it play a role right now for this organization?
With pleasure. So the CAR initiative that you're referring to, it's one of the latest large-scale initiative that we are committed to work on. The idea is not new. As a matter of fact, we started to look into the issue of modern assurance and quantification of trust and simplification of compliance for the past, I would say, over 10 years. As a matter of fact, when we co-founded with Jim Rivers the STAR program, which is the CSA program for governance, risk, and compliance in the cloud, the vision was to have a multi-layer approach, and the very top of that layered approach or layered system, it was a continuous auditing-based certification. So the idea that we could move away from a point-in-time type of validation of our systems into a more continuous way to verify if requirements are really in place. Of course, 10 years ago, the market wasn't necessarily mature. And when I refer to the market not being mature, I'm talking about specifically the users. So in order for a large provider to embrace and being pushed towards a more transparent and continuous approach to assurance, well, they need market forces to give them like a nudge. And I think that back in the days, that wasn't the case, really. So it took a while to kind of educate the ecosystem towards what we thought it was the end game it is the end game for assurance and trust. So that is very much the reason why we started to work on the compliance automation revolution. And there, the simple idea is that we want to modernize governance and compliance. We want to start a journey towards the revolution of what we think compliance is about.
What is this world? Can you paint a picture for us? What problems CAR will solve for, and what is a world where CAR is no longer needed?
I can't picture a world where it's not going to be needed. I picture a world where the approach we are taking to governance, risk, and compliance is based on the ideas that we are pushing for.
So it will become the standard.
Yeah, absolutely. It must become the standard. And the reason is very simple. And it has to do with the drivers that also almost forced us to start working into this space. The compliance ecosystem is not effective or efficient in any way, shape, or form. Too expensive. Like dramatically too expensive. And not just that, we are currently getting a very suboptimal results compared to what we should be getting. If you think about technologies like cloud or AI, we are looking at technologies that are changing very rapidly, evolving very rapidly. To the point that some of the cloud workloads, they are so ephemeral that can last like seconds. Now, if you think about that and you think about the security of those systems, clearly the timeline of compliance and governance doesn't necessarily match with the timeline of technology. So we need to realign them. We need to make sure that if we want to measure the trustworthiness of a system, we are doing that in a way that is meaningful compared to the level of risk that a company is facing. That's why it is important to say that this approach to continuous validation is not necessarily applicable to all the universe. I mean, it has to be necessarily risk-based, because you don't want to overspend or burn resources when not needed. It's always like a balance, and risk is always going to be the driver. What has been happening in the last 10 years, I would say, has been this dramatic feeling of compliance fatigue. Hundreds of different laws, regulations, standards, being that like industry standards like the ones that CSA produces, or standards from ISO or other organizations. And all these standards, they typically have a substantial level of overlap, which means that if an organization, let's say large organization like Google, AWS, or Oracle, IBM, or you name it, Microsoft, they are forced to go over a number of audits, and in most of the cases, the checks that gets done are completely overlapping. So we are looking at sort of, if you look at the Pareto rule, it's like more 80-20 kind of situation where all the standards out there have at least an 80% of overlapping requirements.
Wow, that's a lot.
And that's a lot. And that translates in a waste of resources if you need to call different audits to check over and over again the same thing. And not only that, because the amount of if we go quickly back to the level of overlap. That essentially is the result of anyone willing to feel special. So I have a requirement, and I want to express that requirements in my language. Now you might have the same requirement, and you might want to express your requirement with your language. Now, clearly that is not effective. We need to find a common language through which we can express the same thing that we need in similar terms. So there is this need of translating into a common language what are the common requirements of many of different organizations. And this is a problem that lately, or like in the last few years, I discovered that also the regulators are very worried about, especially in Europe, from where I come from. You might be familiar with the number of new laws and regulations that have been popping up into the European landscape. NIS Directive 2, the Data Governance Directive, the DORA Directive for the financial sector, etc., etc., etc. That means that there are a bunch of organizations that are starting to feel an enormous pressure because they need to please the regulator, they need to demonstrate to them that they are effectively doing things correctly. But the number of resources that they are investing in demonstrating to someone that they are doing the right thing is surpassing the resources they are investing in improving the current posture. And doesn't make clearly any sense. So you want to focus your investment in improving yourself rather than improving the way in which you are showing to someone else that you're doing the right thing.
So it's not about making audits faster. It's about making them smarter as they are now. So using less resources, not overdoing. And I think of compliance, I think of projects. I mean, you have these projects you go through, but now you bring to us the continuous assurance.
Correct.
So it's a different mindset. Can you dig deeper into that for us?
Absolutely. So there is possibly one step back I would like to take there.
Sure.
So we talked about the inefficiencies of the market. That is of course a gigantic problem. The other problem, though, that I see it's cultural here, because when we talk about compliance, as I was referring to, for many is the way to show to someone else that you're doing the right thing, which, in my opinion, that's the wrong way to look at compliance. Compliance and security, cybersecurity, they're meant to be sort of, the two faces of the same coin. You are, first of all, making sure that you are implementing the requirements that are driving your organization to survive or actually to flourish. And then compliance is just a byproduct of it. Because if you do the right thing, if you are able to manage your risk in the right way, then almost naturally you're going to be compliant. If we look at the situation today, that's not really the case.
Yeah, I was thinking, is that realistic? I've never encountered a situation where things were actually done so well that the outcome was like, compliant and nothing to change here. How do we get to that point? I think that's the question.
Yeah, absolutely. That is the question, and you're completely right. The question is, well, the answer to the question is automation. The answer to the question is a modern approach to securing our infrastructure. We look at the size of and the complexity of our technological landscape. It is clear, even considering what AI is bringing to us, that an approach to security, let's leave aside compliance for a second, the approach to security is not going to be able to scale unless we automate.
Yeah.
The era of manual approach is bound to be over. There's no other solution for organization to automate, to embed the security controls they need to put in place into the CI/CD pipeline, into the development process, in a way that you are scripting within your compliance or your infrastructure as code, so the codification of your organization into actual code, the guardrails that you need in order to prevent threats.
So let me try to rephrase or maybe augment this scenario that you're painting for us. Is that I will when I jump into coding or to building a new product, a new solution, I will first think of the guidelines that will make me compliant, and then I will build. And that way, and if I do that often and continuously, and if I automate that, then I can implement the ways where I no longer need manual changes to that system to be compliant to this or that ISO or
Correct.
GDPR or any other.
You absolutely got it right. That's the idea. The idea is to embed those controls into from the get-go. One of the issues that in the cybersecurity space, on the technology space in general, we have had so far has been kind of the siloed approach where you got, from one side the developers, and then there are the security team, the guys that are, they say no, and they are kind of in the middle when you want to do a release. Now, in the last, 10 years, I would say, with the, DevOps, DevSecOps, so we have seen this culture changing. So the security people getting a part of the dev team, and then being able to bring their requirements into the development life cycle at the very early stages. What we are saying is that has to become the rule. I mean, it's like you want to make sure that you are implementing your requirements, your security requirements, alongside your functional requirements from the get-go into whatever you're doing. And the end result is going to be simply what a marketing person would call compliance by default or compliance by design. Same principle that we have been heard over and over again around privacy. Yeah. So in Europe, with the GDPR especially, the concept of privacy by design and by default became very popular. Yeah. What we are discussing here is pretty much the same, exactly the same logic. So as you are building your infrastructure, as you would do if you were building your house, you want to make sure that all the requirements are factored in.
Yeah, you don't want to be
exactly.
Yeah, or like opening the walls to install.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So why not doing the same in the cyberspace?
How far are we, like truly, from now to this scenario? Specifically, I'm thinking on AI here, and how new AI models are being built. And how easy or how hard it is, or the risks there are to, think on compliance afterwards, after you've built, right? I think that's a new norm because of AI as well, right? I think that is a driver here. That
is a driver, even though I would say that this urge towards automation predates AI. Of course, AI is definitely going to accelerate this process, both because it's going to be an additional element of complexity, but at the same time, it's going to be an amazing helper for us. We are going to be dramatically benefiting from the use of AI. But to your question, how far are we? We are not far. I mean, this concept of continuous control monitoring, continuous auditing, automation is something that mature companies have been doing now for quite a few years. So nothing really new, except one thing. We are missing that common language I was referring to at the very beginning. So in order, when we talk about assurance and trust, we are talking about something that is very difficult to measure. It's something that is somewhat immaterial, and it's very much related to the way in which you conceive risk. Now, we need to start finding like a common jargon, a common ways, common parameters, common standards in order to be able to make sure that those processes of continuous monitoring and continuous validation are shared across the ecosystem. It doesn't help if you apply your own rules to continuous monitoring and I apply my own, but that's an absolutely brilliant first step. But then if we got a regulator that we want to talk to, we need to make sure that the regulators is able to have this kind of Rosetta Stone that can use in order to check if we are doing, if our level of trustworthiness is comparable in some ways. In order to be able to compare, in order to be able to speak the same language, you need standards. And those require time. So I would say that from the technological point of view, we are not far. The process of standardization and reaching these like gold standards for governance and compliance, it's not going to be an immediate achievement, but we are very, very much convinced that in the space of the next couple of years, we can get there.
And that's where CAR comes along. It's for that specific common ground that we all need.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And the goal there is to create the standards, so the common set of controls, the common ways in which we translate a piece of regulation into a technical control with the blessing of the regulators and with the adherence of the ecosystem. It goes through a process of building the right architecture in order to be able to make sure that tooling that we are going to use in order to enable the process of continuous control monitoring and continuous validation are sound. Because ultimately, you need to make sure that not only you are translating requirements in the right way into your development life cycle, you also want to make sure that whoever is checking those controls it can get suitable evidence. In order to get a suitable evidence to demonstrate that something has been done properly, you need to make sure that the system that is generating those evidence is sound, is secure, is not tampered with, etc., etc., etc.
You mentioned the big companies are already doing that for a few years. Are they on a common ground, or is there steps to go to get to that point?
Well, are they on a common ground? Conceptually, yes. As a matter of fact, between the founding members of the CAR initiative, we got Oracle and Google. And I'm sure that other big players are going to be joining very quickly. So there is an intention to get to a common ground. We are not there.
Okay, got it. So hearts are to be convinced still. So that's why you're here, right? That's the job that you're doing.
Absolutely.
You're educating, evangelizing on that arena. It sounds to me and to everyone listening, I'm sure that that's a very understandable purpose and interesting to everyone involved. But it's not easy to comply. It's not easy to change, right? So there is steps to take to get to that point.
Absolutely. I mean, it's like when resistance to change. And as we are going to switch, I guess, or talk about AI, that is going to be a huge barrier that we need to break. Getting rid of old habits, embracing change. As we all know, it's nothing but easy.
Yeah, definitely. So let's bring AI into governance and compliance to the conversation. What are the main opportunities right now with AI, and what are the risks?
Oh, the main opportunities. I mean, the main opportunities, they are the one of making our life much, much, much better and simpler. I was yesterday at the keynote for the Oracle World, and Larry was talking about the importance of time, regaining your time, and being able to basically gain what we thought it was it is still the most important asset that we have, which is time. So that is what that was AI is gonna give us. It's gonna allow us to save the time that we can reinvest other for other interests or for better work.
Yeah.
But that augmentation of the humans that AI is bringing bringing to us, that is the very essence of the opportunities that we're gonna get. From the technological point of view, of course, I mean that applies in many ways. In different ways as well. If we think about security, one typical use case is the one of the security operations centers, for instance. A very, very complex environment. That's a space where one of the area where I started with my career. And analyzing a gigantic volume of diversified input, it requires expertise, which are scarce. It requires time. And most often, we don't have the luxury of time, going back to time. So we need to be able to react at a speed that sometimes is not compatible with the human capabilities. So we are seeing more and more the adoption of AI in order to start, to make the process of security control, monitoring much weaker. Typically, there are 3 layers within a SOC. You got the entry level analysts, the ones who are doing the first triaging, then or in the first analysis. Then you got the level 2, which if there is an alert, they're going to investigate, and then finally there are the ones that are popping in to verify whenever the trigger has been demonstrated to be an effective incident. Now we are seeing that level 1 and level 2 analysts can definitely be in a space of very little time, almost replaced, not completely replaced. I'm a huge fan of the human in the loop. I want to clarify that. I really see, especially in this transition phase, the dramatic importance of having the human in the loop because of inconsistency for the very nature of Gen AI.
Yeah. So I would like to dig a little bit deeper into this AI, into governance and compliance. And you were telling us on how there are 3 different layers. And on the first one, we may have some replacements or augmented into how things are done right now if we apply AI. The second one, too. Do you think we'll have or can we come to a day where AI could perhaps certify AI? Is that a possibility?
That's a great question, and this is something that honestly I've been thinking for a while now. But the direction from where I was coming was very much related to the beginning of our journey for the definition of a solution for Gen AI assurance. What has happened in the last, I would say, 18 months is that a large number of our members came to us screaming for help, really, saying, hey, you need to help us in identifying a solution that we can use in order to measure the level of trustworthiness of the GenAI services that we are buying. Can you help us? And we said, yeah, well, we're gonna try. It's not gonna be easy, but we are gonna try. So we started to create what it was recently released under the name of AI Control Metrics, which is the evolution of the work that we have done in cloud with the cloud control metrics. So we build this like set of controls in order to start, kind of having the evaluation points for the GenAI services. Now, this is the very first step, because before we get where you were hinting we should go, which is, I think it's a desirable state. First of all, we need to make sure that we have a measure of trustworthiness for GenAI services. So first of all, we need to cover the foundation. So let's define how we can measure the assurance and the trustworthiness of a GenAI system. Once that step is taken, then the next step is obviously how are we going to decompose the process of validation through an agentic system, most likely, that is going to allow us to have that process of, AI checking on AI. And of course, we will be looking at most likely different types of AIs. The focus so far has been very much on Gen AI. I believe that that is not going to be necessarily the end game. I think we will see general AIs, not general intelligence. I'm talking about AI in general, not Gen AI, which are going to help us with this process. Very much according to, so there is this idea that Joshua Bengio, which is one of the fathers of Gen AI, that is looking at building this idea of the AI researcher, which is essentially an external entity from the agentic system that is doing that probing and that validation. And that's perhaps what we need more in general. So having separated AI systems that can check on each other. With that, again, I wouldn't underestimate what it could be the value of the human loop, because certainly, and I hope, I don't know if that is a certainty or a hope, to be honest. I'm not sure I want to lose my job, if I'm ready to lose my job. But for the next few years, definitely, I see very favorable the inclusion of us as a part of that pipeline.
Yeah.
Not the main driver, but certainly an important component of the overall ecosystem.
Yeah. That's so interesting to think about and to dream on, really. A place where, AI would substitute maybe some of the things you do. Not all, but some of the things,
The boring part.
Yeah, hopefully. Hopefully the boring part. And going back to what you mentioned before on us having more time, I always think on how transformative it was first with cloud, or even back when we first had access to good spreadsheets like Excel and other products that made the job that we used to do without them much easier and faster. It was so much faster. And we thought, wow, now what will I do with these other 3 days of the week, right? Back then, it seemed that we would have time or more time. I don't know about that. I think AI will definitely change how we work, and we will very, very quickly find many things to do with our time.
I have no doubts. I already have some ideas, to be honest.
Right?
Hell yeah.
Right. So going back on the global standards and collaboration, you work with ISO committees and on cloud, of course, and IoT and AI. So how do you align global standards with local regulation? Let's think GDPR, as we mentioned, or NIS2. How does that go really when we have these huge collaborations needed to make these standards being
compatible.
Compatible and attainable for the users.
So this goes back to the point I was making earlier about the 80% overlap.
Yeah.
I mentioned also that we have built two frameworks, one for cloud, one for AI. As a matter of fact, the AICM, so the framework on AI security, is a superset of the one on cloud. And here I make a small parenthesis. The way in which we foresee that Gen AI services are going to evolve are in many ways similar to what we have seen in the history of cloud. So share responsibility model, a common foundation, so the model that is sitting on the cloud. So everything, the large majority of the frontier model that we see there are almost inevitably going to sit on the top of the cloud layer. And then from then on, you got the model, you got all the layers of orchestration, and then you got the applications.
Okay.
These frameworks that we are building are meant to be part, in our vision of CAR, of a larger global repository of control. So the process that we have started is to take as a starting point the AI control metrics, and then based on a process of gap analysis the gap analysis and mapping to identify what are the deltas between, let's say, what we have in terms of controls within the AICM and the DORA regulation and the NIS directive and the EU AI Act and any other applicable laws or regulation. So at that point, through this process of mapping and gap analysis, we can build the additional delta, and we can extend this set of controls with the ones that are not covered if coming from new laws or regulation or new standards, in a way that we can have in a single container what are the security requirements that our industry needs. And then based on your specific use case, then you're going to carve out of this large, repository of controls, this large catalog of controls, whatever you need. And that helps in two ways, because it creates that common language that I was referring to, and also kind of simplify the analysis of requirements. The last thing that you want to do is to kind of take a piece of regulation and you go and then you analyze it and you try to interpret it and translate it into your own policy. And then I do the same, but perhaps our interpretation of that piece of regulation is not completely the same.
Yeah.
So our customer upstream then are going to suffer, because if we both of us are provider to the same customer, we are putting that customer in a very uncomfortable situation, because he's forced to speak with two entities in different languages. So it has to make his own effort of translation in order to compare what we are feeding to him into his governance system. We want to avoid that.
Yeah.
And that's why there is that need of standardization that I was referring to. That is entirely possible. I'll give you another example. The cloud certification is called STAR certification, and STAR attestation. There are two different flavors that we built back in the days. They are, in fact, an evolution of ISO 27001 and of SOC 2 attestation. Because the idea there was, we have a solid basis for general security. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. We want just to overlay that additional set of requirements in order to be able to make something that was created for a general purpose into the specific and be readapted to the specificity of the cloud case or the AI case or whatever that might be.
Yeah.
So I guess that it must be the trajectory. And to your point, in order to get there, we need a lot of smart people sitting around the same table and discuss. And of course, it's going to be a battle of egos, a battle of like diverging agendas that might be confronted. But nobody said that it was going to be easy. I mean, this is like diplomacy.
Yeah.
Diplomacy is never easy, but it's very much necessary.
Yeah, and you've seen this shift of compliance moving from a back office checklist to a board level priority. So this, for sure, entails a cultural shift, as you were saying, and that has to happen for automation to really work. So my question is, how do we connect to this bigger question with communication? And you're mentioning diplomacy as an example. How can security teams actually show value, right, instead of fear? Because I think most of the value sometimes is connected to fear, to what are the risks, but at the same time, there's a lot of value to be shown. How can these security teams, or even CAR and your team, show to these boards the value of these regulations and being prepared?
Unfortunately, there the answer is going to be money. That has been so far the main driver that has brought companies to move the discussion around cybersecurity from the techie desks into the boardroom. Now, I'm not saying that we are there completely, because we are not. That's really a long way for us to walk before we can systematize the enter of the security discussion into the board. But we are making some progresses simply because and in the boardroom, people are starting to realize that no matter what, technology is the underlying force that is powering all the processes within any organization. We think about critical sectors like energy, gas, finance, etc., like utilities. They are all very much connected. We're seeing more and more kind of these sponsor state attacks that are pointing to national security, national critical infrastructure. So that has raised the level of alert, but also the level of consciousness of the criticality of what we are talking about. So more and more within the boardrooms, people started to realize that a security breach is going to have a dramatic impact for the bottom line of the organization. It's going to impact the shareholders. It's going to impact the reaching of the mission of the organization.
Yeah, the markets you enter or not.
Absolutely. So from this point of view, it became clear that this is not anymore something that there is not anymore this idea of the security team as being the team of Mr. and Mrs. But it's more of the group of people that is going to enable the organization to flourish, really.
And on that point, on that change, that cultural change that you're mentioning, on the importance of this team, what are the skills, the abilities or the strengths that this compliance leader will need the most in the future, or even in the present, as you're saying?
Clearly, technical expertise are important. I mean, there are no questions. But what we need, though, is more people understanding the risk jargon. Ultimately, when we talk about cybersecurity, we are thinking about risk when we are talking about risk terms. So necessarily, we need to have a better. We need to have a group of professionals that are not only pros from the technical point of view, but they do understand the risk part of it. And even better, if they understand the business side of it, they need to be able to understand what's the correlation between the implementation of certain control and the dollars that and the return of investment of that specific control. Because the board talks the language of return of investment. It talks the language of risk. It doesn't talk the language of of coding.
Yeah.
Which is fair enough, but I think it's a necessary process of evolution. So we need more and more people that are able to understand the business side of the organization and combine that with their security expertise.
That's amazing. So looking 5 years ahead. Let's say. Yeah, that's hard right now, isn't it? We had no idea what was going to happen 5 years back. So yeah, looking 5 years ahead, I know it's a challenge, but what does the next generation of compliance look like?
Oh, wow. In 5 years from now, my hope is that in 5 years from now, we are going to get to the point that you were suggesting earlier on, where we're going to have kind of a system of an agentic workflow that is able to continuously validate the posture, the security posture of the organization. And bear in mind that when I say continuously validate, I'm applying the word continuously in a kind of in a loose way. Continuous to me means that something it has to happen at an interval which is relevant to the specific matter that is at hand. So there might be a situation where you need validation like on a real-time fashion, so every second or every millisecond. But you might need also some validation that might happen every 3 months. I mean, that's no need for you to change kind of the general policy every second. You might want to validate that at a certain interval to make sure that it's still aligned with your intention.
But every time you don't want it to be disruptive.
Exactly.
Right? I think that can be smoother than it is right now for most.
Because again, one of the other caveat here is that through this process of continuous control monitoring and continuous validation, the end result is the production of more data, more information. Now, this additional set of data is going to be fundamental if we're going to be able to use it. Because data per se is useless. It becomes useful if we're going to make sense out of it. So we want to make sure that we generate data in a wise way. So we are not, overproducing data that might become just noise. But we want to generate the data that are important to us in order to reach what, frankly, has been one of the dreams of our industry for a while. So to move in a situation where we can better quantify rather than qualify risk. One of the issues that we have today, back to the board discussion and back into kind of the confusion and complexity that we are facing, is that it is difficult to quantify risk. We tried for the past 20, 30 years and Monte Carlo simulation, etc. We are not there yet, but we need to get there. We need to make sure that we are allowing organization to embrace a process of essentially continuous risk management, continuous risk assessment, because those information about risk are the ones who are going to inform your reaction, because risk gives you also context, and you want to take action depending on the changing context in which you are operating. This is somehow the very foundation also of the concept of zero trust, which, by the way, in my opinion, is going to be the strategy that everyone is meant to embrace if we really want to govern the Gen AI ecosystem.
Wow, that's so helpful. Yeah. We've, to the audience here, to you listening, we've had an episode where we fully discussed zero trust. So I think we can definitely go back to that if you want to dig deeper. I love that you mentioned that. And for our listeners here, for operations, finance, manufacturer leaders listening to us today, thinking on this world 5 years ahead that you painted, what should they develop today to prepare for this world?
Culture, for sure. They need to be able to embrace this approach. They need to be pushing their providers into the direction that we are discussing about. Ultimately, this is again, it's a matter of of surviving. This is a matter of being able to govern what at this point is possibly the biggest risk we are facing, which is a supply chain risk. Most of the problems that we are facing today are the result of the incapability of properly manage our supply chain. A lot of interdependencies. Sometimes those interdependencies are hidden, and clearly, referring back to one of my idol, Dan Gear. I mean, if you have hidden the interdependencies, you are going to face a situation of possible black swan because you don't know what you don't know. And if you have some hidden nodes that are foundational for the ecosystem, but that you're not even aware of, how can you possibly measure the risk that is upon them? So we need to bring clarity within the supply chain. We need to bring more transparency, and this process of continuous validation it does that because helps in codifying in a much more granular way what are the dependencies within the ecosystem, and at the same time it helps in having a better visibility in what's going on. So we are generating better data that are helping us to have a better governance, essentially.
Wow, Danielle, I think what you just brought us definitely puts this topic on the top of mind, and
hopefully.
Yeah, and it's a need and it's now. I think it's very actionable. So people will definitely want to learn more from you. So where they can go to learn more about Compliance Automation Revolution, CAR, and your work at the Cloud Security Alliance?
Well, the easiest way clearly is to go on our website, cloudsecurityalliance.org.
Okay.
There they will find all our library of downloadable research artifacts, quite a few. So be ready.
Lots of work.
A lot of reading and a lot of input for improving and hopefully, modernizing your approach to security, to governance, to risk management, and to compliance. So that's our go-to source. We are spinning also some other resources, through GitHub repositories, etc. But I would recommend that they start from the website. And then, of course, we are always available and very happy to support if there are any specific questions that the website doesn't answer.
Oh, that's amazing. Thank you so much, Danielle. And for you listening to us, well, this week, ask your team what part of our compliance process can we make real time? Well, that's where automation begins. And hopefully you have all of this material that Danielle just described to us to help you. And Danielle, again, thank you so much for joining us, for all of the information, all of the heads up that we had today. I think it's very actionable and will help a lot of leaders out there. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. And we'll see you next. We'll see you soon at the next Process Masters podcast. Hopefully, we'll be more prepared to handle all of the risks out there. Thank you so much. See you soon.